Welcome to the You Transform podcast. This is a special episode about the New Earth entrepreneur. The new earth, we're all creating it together as we ascend, raising the frequency. But as an entrepreneur doing business, what does this look like? How can you be conscious, spiritually connected, and abundant, experiencing passion and presence and profit? What does that even mean? How can we do that together? That's what this episode is about. I actually taught this as a live class in Dallas for the You Transform community. So you will hear a couple of passionate New Earth entrepreneurs sharing some things and asking questions. This is the time to step into your true self, to step out of the old system. You can be living in your own New Earth as you're bringing everyone else online to it. This is an episode about really becoming that new earth entrepreneur, real action steps, real changes to make, real alignment. Let's get into it. So let's talk a little bit about the new earth, because that word gets thrown around a lot and it can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. Some people say that the new earth is 5D earth, that we're already in the new earth. There are lots of things like that. Just to be pretty simple about it, we're talking about a new paradigm that we're all collectively co-creating, because ultimately everyone, the way that we perceive society and culture and money and everything else that we experience in our reality, we're collaboratively creating that. We're kind of choosing to say, oh, we believe that this thing that is green and white, that's money and it has value, or etc. Like, we're the ones who are doing that. So as we move into a new paradigm, we can create the new paradigm. The new paradigm is created by us aligning to our true selves intrinsically, within our heart, within our soul, within our spirit, within our energy more so, versus just analytically attempting to game the system competitively, outpacing everyone, control and domination. That is a system that's based in survivalism. Survivalism is something that many have experienced throughout ages. There have been previous societies long in the past, and even some societies still that exist on this planet, that are collaborative and that are communally supportive. Not in a communistic way, but in a way where it works for everyone that's involved. That can still happen in a new, more technologically advanced, more culturally, societally, civilized, oriented civilization too. Like, we can still do that, right? But so for the new earth, a couple of things that I would like to point out. It's a world that works for everyone. Works for everyone. And how can that even happen though, right? How can there be a world that works for everyone? It's because we're leaning into a natural ecosystem that exists. In the past, and a lot of us were even raised this way, it's like, if you want to be successful, if you want to be a millionaire, or if you want to do this, you want to do that, you can be the very best at everything you do. Go out and do it. Like, you can figure it out. Now, if you've noticed, we actually have unique innate gifts and talents. Some people are designed to operate like $1 billion business. Some people are designed to be healers. Some people are designed to create art or to be communicators. We have different innate talents. So just to think, this particular perspective of wealth or ownership or control that the old paradigm perceived as successful, which, by the way, go ask the people that achieved those things. How happy were they? Most of the time they weren't really happy. They were doing it because they thought they needed to survive. So the new earth is not about doing something for survival, it's about creation. So we're stepping away from survival and we're leaning into creation. How are we going to survive then? How are we still going to have food to eat, etc.? Luckily, we have been advancing our understanding at the level of human mind, technology, consciousness, and integration of all of our resources, that we've now created a platform in which we have more time for thinking and creation. It was a little bit harder, right? Thousands of years ago, whenever you didn't know what you're going to eat tomorrow and you could die. So we're leaning into this new age, which we could call the new earth, And we're respecting everyone. So this is about everyone's unique beingness being respected. Currently, there's a lot of division and judgment and criticizing. You're different from me, therefore I think you're not as good as me. I don't really respect you because you don't do things the way that I do it. This is about respecting everyone for who they are, considering that they're not harming or controlling others. So if you are going to harm another, that is infringing upon their free will to exist. That is a problem for the collective that would have to be addressed. So it would have to be addressed differently. The judicial system, a lot of things like that. We're not getting into that in this particular topic tonight. But what I mean is that we respect everyone for who they are. Someone may be really connected to nature, love being outside, love being with animals. And we're like, oh my gosh, like, how are you going to make any money? How are you going to live? Like, you need to go get a job. That's not what we do in the new earth. We realize that that's a part of the ecosystem. The plants and the animals need caretakers. They need stewards. So we're not putting people into specific square pegs. We're actually realizing that we have different gifts. And if you guys have questions or comments along the way, by the way, you can throw them out. And our divine gifts, we all have different divine gifts. When I say divine gifts, I'll define that. It's really this intrinsic talent, this energy that you carry that's a unique signature that only you have in the way that you have it. Now, other people might be able to do something similar, but it's like this is your unique gift you bring to the world, meaning all of creation, not just other human beings. Your gift may actually be more used towards water or towards plants or animals or something, or, scientific inquiry or like being in your head. There are lots of more like mental models. But these gifts are shared though versus hoarded inside, because I have a gift that makes me special and unique. Therefore, it'll allow me to control and dominate resources and people. Again, that may seem nice for a little while until you become really depressed, you're socially isolated, no one loves you or cares about you because you mistreated everyone, which is what's happened for most people who like rose to the top with their uniquely specialized gifts, like in the recent times. Also, the new earth is really typified by being before doing. Because doing has seemed to be the supreme king in the past. If you do, you're valuable. If you can produce more, we care more about you. If you produce and you make more money, you make more things, we actually prioritize you. Beingness is enough. Just because you exist, that's actually enough. You don't have to do anything. But the doing is going to naturally come because when you're truly aligned to the energy of life, you are moved to do. You're inspired to create. You want to enact and integrate and do things. Like it's more natural for you to do. But the doing then comes from being. You start with being. Beingness is presence. It's your purest form of energy. It's recognizing your gifts. And it's knowing that I'm okay as I am. I don't have to do something to receive love or value or something. I am that I am. And these are very different foundational principles from what the old earth, if you want to call it that, or the old ways were built upon, that are currently still operating most of the planet. So what do? We start living this way now. This will be your reality. This is my reality now. And it has been. I still notice on the outside that people are not living this way too. But I don't want to engage in that old model. If you don't engage in it anymore, it just atrophies and falls away. You don't have to fight the system. Just don't play into the system. The system naturally dies, because where your energy goes, where your attention goes and your energy goes, that flows there. There's a continuous flow. So if you take your attention off of the old ways and you're like, this is just who I am now, the new earth is created. That's what we're doing. Pretty fun, right? Yeah. It's also, yeah, it's really fun. It's really fun. There's a lot of love. There's a lot of joy, by the way. Not trying to be too, academic up here. That's what the new earth is, because that's who we are. Like at the core, if you see a baby smiling and laughing, and that's because that's who you are. Like that's your natural state. When did it change? When did you stop smiling? Like what happened? Because that's natural for us. So we just go back to being who we are and being in joy. So if you're wondering, how do you create the new earth? And entrepreneurs are really special people. And that's what this particular talk is about. Even if you don't think of yourself as an entrepreneur or a business owner or something, an entrepreneur is just being a creative, inspired doer from the beingness, though. So you prioritize the beingness first, and then you're creating and you're being your unique self, giving out your gifts, versus depending upon another organization or government or company to tell you what to do. There are people who work in businesses that are called entrepreneurs. They're entrepreneurs that just happen to be an employee for another organization. But why are they called entrepreneurs? Because they're taking their own action. They're using their own creative inspiration to move forward versus just waiting for someone to tell them what to do. So we can all be entrepreneurs, even if you didn't think of yourself that way. So a New Earth entrepreneur, let's talk about becoming the New Earth entrepreneur. So how can we all step into that? The New Earth entrepreneur. And this one's huge, right? This is definitely, we don't have to call these steps, but let's start here. Let go of your ego. This one's hard. I mean, I started my first business when I was 15. I've been an entrepreneur, since I was a teenager, and my ego was driving me more so when I was younger. And that's natural for most human beings. What is the ego? The ego is the part of you that's here to help you survive. We actually still need our egos. Even when you become more awake or aware at a higher level of consciousness, you don't kill your ego. The ego is protecting the individualized essence that's in this human body to make sure you don't die. It's like keeping you alive. You should probably eat food. Don't give everything to everyone. Like you also still need a little bit. It's actually a part of you. But so when I say let go of your ego, I don't mean like banish it. I really mean put your ego in the back seat. It's currently in the driver's seat for most human beings on the planet. And that runs rampant. And then what does the ego do? The ego likes to feel special. The ego likes to think that it's the only thing that matters. The ego defends itself in small or big ways. It could defend itself with violence. It could defend itself by, bringing a lawsuit onto a competitor or whatever it is, saying negative remarks about someone. The ego wants to stay alive, to survive, and it uses competition. It sees everyone else as a threat, ultimately, deep down in the subconscious. Like, these are all threats to me. Change is a threat. So the ego is what is driving most entrepreneurs, because they're like, how can I make this much money to get this thing that I want? How can I be respected in my industry or in the world? How can my family, my friends, my community respect me and see me as like this figure, or, I have a lot of followers and a lot of people. How can the ego feel special? How can the ego get what it wants? This will drive your decisions of the type of business you start, how you operate it, all the way. Like if you're being driven by the ego, and that will not align with everything we just talked about regarding the new earth, because it's ultimately going to put you ahead in some way. The truth is, at the base level of reality, we're all one. We're all one form. We're all one consciousness. And so if we're all one, that means that Daniel, it's like, why would I hurt you when that's like cutting off my own arm? Like, why would I hurt another or try to get in front of another just for my own gain? Short-sightedly, it seems to work out. for me. But what if we're all me, actually? What if we're all we? And the deeper you go into your own self-inquiry, you'll most likely find that out. And so you'll start to realize that, wow, when I help another, I help myself, because I'm also ultimately a part of them anyway. Whenever I hurt another, I hurt myself. So becoming the New Earth entrepreneur is going on this path of letting go of the ego. And part of this is quite simple. It's service to others over service to self. Service to self. Right? Most people have been operating that way, service to self. I put myself first. I need to make sure I get paid. I need to make sure this works out for me. Instead of starting with, how can I help? How can I help another? How can I help another? How can I help another? And of course, paradoxically, whenever you put others first, you're always taken care of. Others respect you. Others love you. Others want to be around you. That's because we love love more than we love money or any of these other, made up forms of energy that we experience. So, service to others. This is so big. Invest in knowing who you are. You are, not just business. Knowing who you are. Whenever I was younger, I don't know if you guys have done this, but I read like over 100 business books, startups, finance, management, all the different books like that, entrepreneurship books. I went to conferences, always learning about all these different elements. I was like, I got to learn all of these things so that I can build my business. Got to learn all these things. And I cared. I wasn't just, trying to make money. I wanted to make a difference. But at the same time, I was so focused on the business side. It wasn't until 4 years ago that I went to a spiritual retreat for the first time ever. I was investing a lot into like business building things, but not necessarily myself. And I might have tricked myself into saying like, this is me building myself so I can make the business better. But it was for the outcome of business growth versus the outcome of just knowing who I am, letting go of the falsehoods, the patterns, the trauma, the habits, the addictions, the things that were keeping my energy stuck, the ego that was driving the car. And it's so crazy. Like that's the shift. You start doing that, paradoxically, like the business grows, the business is more successful, you work less, you're more happy, you're more aligned, you're more joyful because you know who you are and you're aligning to yourself. When you're aligned to your true energy, everything else just falls into place. You're not driving around in a broken car trying to fix it all the time. Like you just are, you're being yourself. So that's part of letting go of your ego and just discovering who you are. It's like a changeover point. Like we're working in that direction. Because when more than half of everyone cares more about others than just themselves, that's a really big, global scale change.
Yeah.
So let's all just do it now. Like we're part of that percentage change.
Absolutely,
that's happening.
Yeah.
So, the next thing, it doesn't have to be in order, but I'm going to share is share your divine gifts, right? Because how do we get into the entrepreneurship part of this? Maybe you want to start a business or you want to grow or create something, and y'all all shared beautiful things that you're already doing, more things you want to do soon. And so like we start with letting go of the ego. We start with knowing who you are. And it's not that you have to know everything or be fully enlightened before you start a business or be an entrepreneur, but you're putting that first as the priority is what I'm saying at least. And you notice because now you're becoming more clear on who you really are. Not just like, oh, I was really good at math and science and my parents like always thought I would be an engineer, or like maybe you love making music though, but every time you wanted to make music, people told you you're never going to be successful, you won't have the money, blah, blah, blah. It just as an example. So like really looking inside of your innate source energy flow, like when do you feel the most joy? When do you feel the most alive, the most aligned? That's your true self, and you're going to know your gifts. Your gifts are going to become more clear. It's like whenever I do this, people say thank you. They ask for more. They tell their friends that I do this. whenever someone describes who I am, they say these words about me. Those could be clues, maybe. Like those are things that are unique about me that are part of this beautiful natural ecosystem of the planet. And so, like, when it comes to doing this, I like to think of it like this: planting your flag and then let them come to you. What that means is you let people know that you're here to help. It's even if just one person, you have one friend and you're learning Reiki healing and your friend is having severe headaches and you're like, hey, can I do a Reiki session for you? And you just do it. Or maybe you have one podcast you put out and you're like, hey, I just wanted to share my life story because I know there's someone out there that could benefit from this, and you do it. Like you just start somewhere and you let people come to you. It's a lot easier to do that than going around and knocking on everyone's doors trying to sell door to door, like telling everyone about what you have. No, just make it known in some way that you're here in this way, and people will come to you. That's because everything is frequency ultimately. That's electromagnetism. You're sending out the signal in a very pure way. I'm here to serve, right? You're giving out the thought that I want to help, and people are coming to you. You're able to help in the way that you're meant to. Another thing I'll mention here is just kind of a little thing I was thinking about earlier is giving away your recipe. I think this is kind of nice because what I mean by this is you can give away your recipe, but people are still going to come to your restaurant. So like the old model of control and domination was, I have this secret way to heal your body. And, for just, 3 payments of $1,000, I will tell you that one trick. You know what I mean, though. But the point is, it's like I have this secret sauce, a secret thing, and it's this is mine, and I think I can extract a lot from you guys because I have it. So by all means, you might be wondering, well, how do I have abundance? How do I bring in money? How can I, do those things, which I'm going to get to in a second. But you can give away the recipe. You can tell everyone how to do it. It's like, here, this is how you do this on your own. But I create these widgets that do it like a lot easier, and they don't have the time to create it on their own. They'll still buy the widget. You can give someone a recipe for this healing tonic tea, but like I also sell them if you just want to come and buy one from me. So this is just like this very loving flow of information and energy where you're not putting up barriers and walls, but you're still respectably creating opportunities for energy exchange without getting into control and domination. I'm just trying to think about the specifics, right? The specifics about how the New Earth model works, because there's a lot that's involved with the changeover of the economy, with finances, with money and energy flow, so that we can start doing this now. And another thing to consider as the New Earth entrepreneur, it's supporting all of life. Supporting all of life. What this means is considering everyone, everything, and whenever you're engaging in whatever your product is or your service or your event or your experience, how does it affect the planet? How does it affect Gaia, right? How does it affect the elements, the plants, the animals, the local environment? How does it affect other people? How does it affect the people that, the stakeholders that may not be directly? How does it affect my employees, my team members? It's not just like in the old model, it was how can I make as much money as possible? And I'm going to die in like 80 years, so who cares? Who cares about the planet or whatever happens after this? This is holistically supporting all of life, right? Considering all stakeholders together. Just a little example of this, and it's just very new. But Ascend, we had this awesome, conscious nightlife experience that quite a few of you guys were at this weekend. And the idea behind this too, it's creating a collective where every weekend there's a different musician getting to share their art. There's a visual artist getting to share their art in some way. We have guides and teachers and facilitators creating spaces for healing and transformation, getting to share their gifts. There are people who have the gift of creating beautiful food or drinks or things from plants, and they're sharing their gifts. So there are lots of different ways to come together. That's just one example, though, of a model where we're caring about everyone and everyone matters versus just this one business is trying to like take something from someone. Yeah. So I know y'all are probably wondering about the abundance side, the money side of this. Do y'all have any thoughts on like the best way to handle money or making money or operating in abundance in the new earth? Yeah, you could receive collaborative energy. You might co-create on something. You might get some other type of resources together, bartering, lots of things like that. When it comes to the abundance side, know that you are whole and supported in every way. Now, initially, that might be like, okay, I don't know how I'm going to know that. That's a big stretch, a big jump for me, and that's okay. But we start from this place of when I am unlimited, when I am connected to all of life, and I know that I'll always be supported in every way. All that I need comes to me effortlessly, exactly when I need it. When you live life from that belief system internally, you can start experiencing that. And like Stephanie said, things will come to you exactly how you need it, when you need it, unexpected ways, versus having to predict. Let me predict with my analytical mind. Let me do my 3-year, 5-year plan. Try to figure out exactly how I can do this. Just your one human mind is so small compared to the gestalt of all of creation. There's so many beautiful moving parts that are here to support you. If you open yourself up to the possibility, more will come into your life in different ways. So we always want to start from there. Regardless, you don't have to use the word money or anything like that. Whether it be having shelter, a place to live, having food and love around you. And remember, love is the ultimate energy of abundance anyway. When you're giving love, you're caring for others compassionately, you're receiving love, you're always going to be taken care of because love is being exchanged. If you're really mean and rude and you burn bridges all over the place and you run out of your resources, well, there are definitely compassionate souls out there, but you have less people who are wanting to just jump up and help you, right? Whenever we're loving and we care about others around us, naturally they want to help you if you need help. And so when it comes to abundance too, money is energy. And energy exchange is natural in life. So money is just a form of energy that we're exchanging. And this energy exchange, there are lots of forms of energy exchange. A fire that burns down wood, the wood is going to, enrich the soil. The soil can then grow more plants and provide for animals, etc. There's this cycle of life that's always happening, different forms of energy moving around. And seeing that you are creating value that matters is part of seeing your own worth, because we're all worthy. We all have the same level of worthiness, so to speak, anyway. And it's natural to exchange. Now, there could be a society that doesn't use money at all. By all means, that's very possible. I perceive as we move forward, though, there's going to be a transitional period where we're still using money anyway. And so we can use it more as a form of energy exchange in an equitable and respectable way. So yes, there's nothing wrong with putting a price, whether it be money or US dollars or a cryptocurrency or bartering. Like there's different ways you could put a price on anything, but that's a true form of energy you're exchanging. Whether you make a product or you have an app or you do a service or anything like that. And this allows for this flow to take place naturally because you're supporting other parts of life. So yeah, those are some things I wanted to share about how you can lean into being a New Earth entrepreneur. Is any of this resonating, or are you guys seeing any challenges maybe you're like, I want to do this, but I've had trouble, or I'm just having trouble running my business now and getting by. Or do you guys have anything that's coming up at all?
Yeah, I have a question about like what do you think about the transition point? Because this is wonderful if everyone's on board, especially when it comes to like the abundance piece and the energy exchange and everyone's seeing it that way and just trusting that things flow in as they like exactly when they're meant to. But what about like planning for things, for example, and needing a certain amount of resources to be able to create that?
Mm-hmm.
Without there being like a tangible number or like a tangible way to guarantee that that will come to you in a way.
Yeah, like even in the current model of the world,
Yeah.
because in the future, I think that there will be differences. Currently, I mean, and also like if you're just getting started, maybe you're just starting out and you're like, hey, I literally have to pay my bills. I don't have any clients yet. My business, my spiritual or conscious business isn't paying the bills. If there is a place in which you can engage in what's currently happening in a conscious and loving way, even if that's cooking at a restaurant, being an Uber driver, like doing what you need to do to be of service in some way, you can do that. Like if you need to do something that creates some stability until you have more of a crossover point where you planted that flag and there are so many people coming now, like you're not questioning that you're going to have the resources needed for next month's expenses, for example. So I think having some form of stability is useful as you ramp up and shift over fully into this, because it could be a big jump to do instantly. But then also, even once you've jumped over and you're like, I've jumped over, why do I see such an inconsistent flow of energy exchange? What am I supposed to do? Fold everything up and just, work for the corporate way, jump back to the old system? That this is a bigger conversation, but I would say that's a point of growth for that individual, like that individual soul. That's a moment where am I going to completely let go of all fears of needing this in a certain way or trying to control the future and truly trusting all the way?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that it could be one of those moments where it's like you really trust all the way or you don't. And I see that happen a lot. Some people will like learn about all this stuff, they start living a certain way, and it gets pretty scary, and they're like, I'm going to go back to corporate America, and maybe they'll come back again to this way, and that's all right. It's all right. There's some back and forth. It's really about how you feel on the inside.
So I guess my question is surrounded around abundance and working in the corporate world and wanting to leave that. And so I think this is a bigger conversation, because while I believe in my abundance and I know I'm abundant, and like I don't feel like I have to force anything a certain way because I'm acting on my excitement, it's my passion to be of service for people, there's still like this sense of not enough time because I'm in a corporate world, but I don't feel that I'm at that level where I can leave it yet. I really want to. And so it's like, how do you balance the time between content creating and, reaching out to potential clients and speaking with potential clients who, for the other like side of, whatever business, all the while still being in a corporate setting. Because I mean, how would you balance that? What would you suggest would be ways or great ways to start to walk away from that? Yeah, it's time. It's time to walk away from this.
So
I'm trying to step in all the way. So yeah.
No, for sure. Like, there's nothing wrong with working in the corporate setting. Just want to point that out. By the way, the corporate world, all of that's all going to be moving to the earth too. Not everyone is going to be, a small business entrepreneur or something. We're going to work collaboratively still.
Absolutely.
It's just going to be a lot different. But if you're saying for me, you're feeling very aligned to stepping out of that type of system.
Yes.
You're in it right now. Well, again, when you're there, be present. How can you bring the gifts that you want to bring outside of the corporate setting to where you're at right now? because if that's the vibration you're emitting, that just flows over. Because
Yeah.
some people, they're like thinking about the side project all day, and they're like, it's so awesome, it's so awesome, can't wait to get out.
Yeah, work and your mind is stuck on that fun stuff.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I'm
that's
multitasking
fun.
at work. You best believe I'm working on my content while I'm at work. It's okay.
And so, well, yeah, like if you have some time, some time to do some
Make it
content
work.
at work,
It's
that's
fine.
okay. But I
Yeah.
just mean, if there's this, think about, notice how you feel emotionally.
Yes.
If you feel really frustrated, annoyed, upset, angry, resentful, all of that, that's affecting your frequency a lot.
Right. What if you don't feel that? And so there's also that free. Well, I'm already comfortable here. They're good to me. It's not my place. Like, because I am going into another corporate, of course, like with my other side project with school and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So that would be one to bring consciousness into that type of field. So that's really great. The judicial field, we'll talk about that some other time, of course.
Oh, for sure.
But that's the thing. It's like, I don't want to stay here because it's fine. Like, I love what I do. I've even coached my regional director, like on the spot. We were in the office for 2 hours just going. It was amazing, but it's just not for me. Like, and so I want to be able to just let that go and just focus 100% on building the clientele.
I mean,
sharing the gifts.
You have to, naturally make transitions, and there's a part of needing more patience, I think.
Ooh.
More patience, and have the vision. It's like, yes, I'm serving people in this way and I'm working with clients, and I won't be in the corporate world. Right now, I am there, so I'm not going to have resistance to it. You can not have resistance to what is while still having a vision for what you've created. You can do both things, actually.
Yeah.
So you're doing that, and if you have extra time, first of all, don't fill all of your extra time with creating content and doing the side project. Make sure a pretty good amount of your extra time are for spiritual practices.
It's literally,
The spiritual practices are number one, because if you let go of the ego, you let go of the want, the desire, the force, the fix, the inspiration comes through. Mm-hmm. The things come to you. And then it's so clear. It's like, oh my gosh, you talk to someone at work and there's a way where you can switch. Now you have 2 days off each week in a row, or these things can happen.
That's what happens all the time.
Yeah. So these things will happen and you'll be like, this is so cool. Now how can I take ownership for who I choose to be? Hey, I'm going to tell them that pay me less, but I'm only working half time now, or you fire me. It doesn't matter anymore. And you just tell them, this is what I choose. If I worked for someone, it would be on my terms. This is how I provide for this organization. I bring a lot to the table. I know you normally do this, but by the way, personally, I'm working from home. And this is how much I get paid and how many vacation days I get. And it's okay if you don't want to do that, but you're bringing so much to the table and you care and you're a quality person. They'll see that. So do what you can. If you can make adjustments, take time for spiritual practices, still take time for everything. And the transition can happen.
Yes. Okay.
And then there's some people who they do that and they're 3-4 years in, they still haven't made the transition. Mm-hmm. That's because they have a fear that's holding them back.
Yes.
The fear is it's just I might have to move back in with my parents, or I might go into debt, or you got to face it all the way, whatever the fear is. The fear could be being judged by others, mm-hmm. Being seen as a failure. Mm-hmm. The fear could be more about real survival. I don't know if I'll be able to make it. I'll be homeless. Maybe I was homeless once, so it's the thing I'm most afraid of, etc. So being able to face that fear all the way could be a part of your spiritual evolution anyway, and kind of why you're going through that in your life.
Wow, that was really fun. Thanks for listening to this special class talking about the New Earth Entrepreneur. I'd love to hear about what you're creating. Let me know. Send me a message on Instagram at Michael Hodge Love, or post a comment if you're watching the YouTube video. What are you up to? Let's collaborate. Let's co-create in some way. Also, You Transform retreats are a way to have a deep source experience, to let go of the not self and to remember the true self. Check out retreats at youtransform.com. I'd love to be with you there soon.